Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Sorry for looking a little bit scary. I have just my eyebrows on and I'm sweating so bad. It is so hot in Brisbane today. In today's video I'm going to be doing a review. I'm going to be doing the Colourpop No Filter foundation, concealer and translucent powder. I am obsessed with Colourpop. I feel like they are a very underrated brand. I love their eyeshadows, so I wanted to give their concealers and foundations and powders a try. I've heard lots of good things, but obviously I wanted to give it a go for myself. So let's get straight into the video. So I'm going to do half my face with a sponge and the other half with a brush. I normally do it, I normally apply with like a flat foundation brush and then I'll just dab it out with my sponge just to make sure there's no streaks. But I'll do just a brush on one side of my face. I know everyone is different, but I just want to see what the wear is with both. I've already, as you can see, done my brows and I've already prepped my skin. So I'm just gonna take my foundation. So it comes with, you can see it's a little bit dirty. I've already popped it on my palette. So the No Filter foundation, Colourpop, it's a glass bottle. And I got the shade Light 50, which actually looks a little bit dark, but it's okay. We'll see how we go. In the concealer, I got the shade Light 10 and the foundation is Light 50. So I usually go quite light under my eyes anyway, just to really brighten it. So we'll see like the tone difference as well. So I've already got it. Oh, pump is not working. Oh, okay. That just came out like crazy. So I'm just gonna do what I normally do and apply it with a flat brush, and then on this side I'll buff out with my sponge, and this side I will buff out with a brush. Stipple brush. Okay. I normally fake tan as well, so we'll just see how this goes. Coverage seems nice, and the actual foundation itself, like the texture, doesn't feel too thick. I didn't wet my sponge. Sometimes with foundations that are quite runny, they've got a bit more, like they're a bit more watery. I look so silly. I don't like to use a wet sponge or a damp sponge, because if I use a wet sponge it takes away most of the coverage of the foundation, and I do like to have a pretty full coverage foundation. If I have a dry sponge or sponge with a little bit of product still on it, it just makes the coverage a little bit nicer and it's still even. I don't know if I'm the only one who does that with a dry sponge, but definitely coverage is good. And the colour actually isn't as dark as I thought it would be. It's actually quite light, but it looks so much darker. Without doing my neck, I'll do my neck last. This is the side with the sponge blended out. I'm gonna do, I look so silly right now. Oh, well. Now I'm just gonna go and apply this on the other side, and I'll buff it out with a brush. And we'll see how that turns out. I'm a little bit scared that it will be streaky, because it's, like I said, it's more of a wet foundation than like a cream. not too bad. A little streak. You can't really see. It is a lot whiter than I expected. I'm just gonna go in as well and do my neck with a brush. I always do my neck with a brush, so it's just a little bit easier and more natural. It's actually not a bad shade, considering. I usually like to buy a shade that's a little bit, you know, darker, because I do fake tan a lot. But I thought I would buy a lighter shade to go for when I'm feeling a little pasty. Nothing wrong with being pasty. Or pale, I should say. Pale. Also, I'm really sorry if all you can hear is my fan. It is so hot here. I just couldn't do it without it on. Okay, so far I don't really see too much of a difference. This side obviously was with the sponge. It looks a little bit more full coverage. This side is still, the coverage is still really good. There are no streaks, which I was really happy with. So far so good. I'm liking this foundation. Moving on to concealer, which I am so excited to try. I had so many issues with concealers and creasing under my eyes and like the powder and stuff that I would use, which is what led me towards buying the translucent powder and the concealers. I've heard so many good things about them. I've used so many different primers and concealers, both high-end and drugstore, and I was just still having the same problem, and I don't know why. So I was a little bit reluctant. I was a bit scared to buy something that might not work. For me, I had tried so many concealers and I was just getting the same thing, and it was just a constant creasing. No amount of powder would work. My drugstore powders, my Laura Mercier powder wouldn't work. I was just like really having a bad time, and I don't know if it was something to do with just my skin changing or the weather or whatever, but I am so excited to try this. It is such a cute bottle and it's quite large. That's a little applicator. This looks really white. A little applicator is like a little flat brush. Look at the hair on my face. Oh. Okay, so I'm gonna apply this under my eyes. We'll see how we go. I'm gonna blend this out with my sponge on both sides, just because that's what I would really normally do. I'm not gonna use a brush because I don't wanna. I just don't normally use a brush. So. Okay. It's a nice shade. It is quite light, which is what I normally go for. The consistency is nice. It's kind of like thick, but still a bit wet. Like Huda Beauty's is like thick, but super like just like heavy, really heavy. I think it was a bit drying for me. I didn't particularly like that concealer. I would use the tiniest amount, and just blending it, it would come straight off because it was just that thick on my face. So far, so good. The concealer hasn't left any creasing under my eyes. My eyes are bright. My eyes feel bright and lifted. There's no, like, the color looks fine. I haven't put any powder on yet, obviously, so we'll just see how the powder goes. Just doing the other side. I am totally obsessed with ColourPop. I always have been. I am obsessed with their shadows. Their prices are amazing. The one thing that annoys me is that it's like obviously overseas, not in Australia, but I'm just putting whatever's left over on my sponge where I would normally do my highlight. It's such a strong concealer, so I felt like I didn't need to actually apply concealer in those spots, just with whatever was left on my sponge. As you can see, my lips are all white. I'm just going between my brows. I'm so in love with this concealer. Already I feel like it is such a different kind of concealer than the ones that I have used and I was having so much trouble with. I just looked it up and the prices are so amazing. For this concealer cost me $6 American, which is at the moment $8.26 Australian. This is cheaper than my like drugstore like True Match, like my L'Oreal True Match. It is full coverage. Like, I am so obsessed. $6 US, $8.26 Australian. I should have done this before. Classic stuff. The foundation was $12, so that's $16.52 Australian. That to me is just insane. This foundation is amazing. It feels so good on my skin. It's so lightweight, but the coverage is so perfect. And the powder was $8. That's $11 Australian. I'm yet to try the powder. So I normally apply, so this is the powder, I've already tipped it into the lid. The one thing I can say that I was surprised with this is that it is quite small. Like if I just compare like my sponge, if you use your sponge, whereas like obviously you've got like your Laura Mercier, it's quite large, you're gonna fit most of your sponge in that. This, not so much. I apply with a brush though. I feel like with me personally it's easier to get in all my little spots. So I'm just gonna go in with a Real Techniques brush, just my little flat one. I've popped it in the lid. And this is the shade as well, translucent, so sometimes they give like a little bit of flashback, or they're super white, or they change the color of your foundation or whatever. Let's just see how we go. Had a little creasing just now. So far so good. Ever since moving to Brisbane, it's like I sweat now. Like I never used to sweat, but the humidity is ridiculous. Definitely a shock. I moved from Sydney, so very different kinds of heat. Okay, so I didn't bake it, I just kind of swept it. I don't feel the need to bake most of the time. For me personally, it just kind of defines all my little creases, especially when I was using Laura Mercier. Like I don't know why, but for me personally it just didn't work. I don't want to diss a big brand, but for me personally it just did not work. I still used it because it was expensive, but that's the one thing that I just don't like, is that sometimes you're going to spend money on high-end brands and they're just not going to work for you. And that's why I'm obsessed with Colourpop. I always have been obsessed with their eyeshadows because you get so much for your money. The pigment is great, the formula is great, the actual palettes or individuals themselves are so well priced. It's worth, like you're getting more than your money's worth. So when I get something, or when I buy something that is expensive and it's not working out for me, it just feels like such a huge waste, because I really hate that I spent that much money on it. It just comes down to money really, like I hate wasting it. But so far so good. I am really loving the powder. It's not feeling cakey or anything on my skin. If you can see closely under my eyes, there is no creasing at all. no creasing at all. And I just dipped my brush straight in there and went for it. I'm going to do my forehead. Just because, like I said, I sweat so much more now. When I was younger, I would hardly even set my foundation because I just never had that issue. I cannot believe this. $12 and it has replaced my Lauren Mercier. I am so in love right now. I can't believe it. And my skin looks like skin still. It doesn't look cakey. Like I said, nothing out of this range is like thick. It's all, but still like the coverage is incredible. I am obsessed. This is a winner for me. Continuing with my ColourPop theme, I'm gonna go and do a quick eye look just to complete the makeup look. I have a few of their palettes that I love, but my favorite is the Cute AF or the Yes Please. I got so confused with this palette and what the name was because the front says Cute AF, you can't really see that, but the back says Yes Please. Then the packaging said Yes Please. It's confusing. Okay, so I think I'm gonna go for my standard warm tone smoky eye. Using the Cute AF palette. I'm also going to use this little Individual that I bought. It's just a really nice transition tone. I'm just gonna go in with like a medium fluffy-ish flat brush, and I'm gonna go in with this shade here. I'm gonna just apply it straight to my lid, mainly going in the crease. They're so pigmented. I just love ColourPop, like honestly. So nice. I'm then gonna go in with like a little fluffy blending brush. This one is Smashbox. Doesn't have a number. Anyway, it's the one that came with the little palette. I'm just gonna go in with that Koi, which is that orange transition shade. I really cannot speak. It is that bad. And I'm just gonna buff over this with the orange. Now that I've blended most of that orange out, I'm going to go in with a clean blending brush, and I'm going to go in with the colour French Kiss, which is this yellow shade. I'm just going to go over the top halfway, if that makes sense, like half and half, over the orange shade, and just blend. Now that I've blended most of that out, I'm going to go in with a super dark shade. This one is called Mischief. I'm just going to use the same flat brush that I used before. I'll just use the other side. Dip it in, tap off any excess. I'm going to apply it to my lid. With the same brush I use, the yellow, and I'm going to go underneath my eye. love Colourpops. Okay, so this is the finished look. I am really loving this foundation and concealer and powder. Like I said so many times, it is so hot in here. I'm sweating and my sweat is coming through. I haven't sprayed, I haven't set with anything but the powder, and my foundation hasn't moved, my concealer hasn't moved. I've been sitting in this room for like an hour and a half. It's so hot in here and it hasn't moved at all. The color, maybe I could have gone a shade darker in the concealer. I feel like I'm coming off a little bit pale, but maybe if I tan or if I fake tan, I can just use a darker foundation and mix a little bit more of the foundation than the concealer, use a little bit less of the concealer. It did go a really long way, and for what it retails for, it's just so worth it. I am obsessed. I'm just in love with it, honestly. The one thing I could say about the foundation bottle, the pump, it could just be that it's my pump. It's a plastic pump, which is standard, but it gets a little bit jammed, so I've got to like pull the pump out, then push it, then pull the pump out, then push it. Could just be my pump is faulty, and I wish that these were a little bit bigger. They're so tiny, but like I said, for what you're paying, like, you're getting more than your money's worth. I will just compare again, if I can find it. I'll just compare again. Like, this is the size of the Laura Mercier and this is the size of the Colourpop, so you can really see the size difference there. But I would buy this over this personally. I know that's a big thing to say. I know a lot of people are just like, oh, but it's the best powder, and it probably is for a lot of people out there, but this is now my holy grail. This for me works so much better than any other powder that I've ever used under my eyes. I didn't bake it, but it just, there is no creasing going on. You can definitely tell there is no creasing going on. There's no flashback going on. I've got lights on my face. For me, obsessed. Obsessed. I love it. As always, Colourpop eyeshadows I'm obsessed with, but I hope you enjoy this look. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and click the subscribe button and the little bell notification. You can get notified when I post videos. That would really help me out a lot, and thanks for watching.